Thailand's political crisis deepens as another parliamentary vote, that is, to choose the country's next leader, originally scheduled for today, has been postponed indefinitely. Now, the kingdom's top court says it needs more time to decide whether Parliament's decision to deny Move Forward leader Pita Limjaroenrat the chance for another shot at becoming prime minister is valid after he failed in his first attempt.
Move Forward, which won the most seats in the general election, has been excluded from a new government coalition led by runner-up Pheu Thai. CNA's Saksisa Sombat explains what happened and what impact it has on the search for a new Thai government.
It's been a day of delays in Thailand as the country still waits for a new government to take shape. Let's begin with the Constitutional Court first. It has decided to make a decision later, specifically on a petition by the Move Forward party opposing a parliamentary resolution that has effectively barred their party leader, Pita Limjaroenrat, from being renominated in Prime Minister's vote in Parliament again. Rival MPs and military-appointed senators who have been vocally opposed to the Mr. Pita and the reformist liberal agenda of the Move Forward party argue that it's an illegal repeat motion since he was rejected in the first PM vote a month ago already. The Constitution does not limit how many times somebody can stand for a Prime Minister's vote. However, the resolution by Parliament has set the precedent that every candidate has now only one shot at it. In any case, the court will now decide on this matter on August 16th. Now, obviously, this also had an impact on everything that is related in the search for a new government of Thailand. Parliament has delayed the Prime Minister's vote. The next round was initially scheduled for Friday, August the 4th. No new date has been set yet, as we are all waiting for the court to decide on this. The Pheu Thai party has also postponed the announcement of a new coalition that was supposed to take place a day after they broke up with the election winner, the Move Forward party, effectively banishing them back to the opposition, as Pheu Thai feared they wouldn't get enough support to get confirmed. What we do know is that they will put forward their Prime Minister candidate, former property tycoon Sethar Thavisin, for the next parliamentary vote, whenever that will take place. But as of now, we do not know how many parties and how many MPs they will have in their own corner to get over the line. It's been over 80 days since May's general election. A lot of twists and turns have happened, but there's still no end in sight in the search of a new Thai government. The wait goes on. Saksisa Sombat, CNA, Bangkok.
For more insight on developments in Thailand, let's speak now with Kevin Hewison. He's the Weldon E Thornton Distinguished Professor of Asian Studies at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. He joins us from Perth this morning. Professor Hewison, the selection of Thailand's new prime minister delayed, prolonging the country's political deadlock. What do you make of the postponement, and how will this affect the country's political stability?
Well, I think what it does show us is how powerful the Constitutional Court has become in Thailand, in that we're now almost going up for 3 months since the election. The court has put off a decision which most pundits thought would be reasonably easy for them to make, to decide on whether there should be a second vote. But it's all a bit by the by, in the sense that if Pita could stand again, he's not going to be elected anyway because the Senate will continue to oppose him. So what we're set with now over the next couple of weeks at least is more backroom dealing, more and probably some increased dissatisfaction with the way that the process is going, and a muddle along until something becomes clear. At the moment, almost nothing is clear on where Thailand's politics is going.
So help us understand then a bit better about the Constitutional Court. What is their role in Thai elections, and what are they trying to achieve with a further delay?
It's not clear if they're trying to achieve anything other than a continued delay, but it may be. They have several other cases going which could affect Pita, but also could potentially affect the Move Forward party. So it may be that they're moving on those and they want to move on those first. But the Constitutional Court has become incredibly powerful in all of the elections since around about 2007. There's been interventions from the Constitutional Court, and several governments that are not necessarily pro-military have been set aside by the Constitutional Court. And of quite a number of parties, maybe 6 or 7 parties now have been dissolved. Sorry, it should be 8, I think, parties have been dissolved by the Constitutional Court. So they are playing a very central role in the formation and the stability of governments within the parliamentary system.
One of the biggest developments this week was Pheu Thai parting ways with the Move Forward party and is now set to unveil a new alliance. Professor, your thoughts on how the new coalition may look like, and how do you think it'll go down with the Thai citizens?
It's very difficult to see what the new coalition is going to look like or what the vote for Pheu Thai's Prime Minister might look like at the moment. Without Move Forward, Pheu Thai feels that it can put together a coalition that will gain support both in the lower house and in the unelected Senate. There's considerable dissatisfaction amongst Move Forward party supporters, but amongst other observers as well, about whether the Pheu Thai party will align with the pro-military parties of the previous regime. If it does that, my prediction would be that there would be considerable unrest. Move Forward's hope is that Pheu Thai can put together a reasonable coalition that doesn't include the generals from the former regime and have some sort of pro-democracy coalition in place, which even from opposition, Move Forward could potentially support. For example, perhaps voting for Pheu Thai's prime ministerial candidate. But even then, the situation becomes murky after a prime minister is in place and a government is in place, because it's already being predicted that there are going to be further changes in a coalition led by Pheu Thai following the election of the prime minister. So we're in very murky and uncharted waters for Thailand, and there's a lot of closed door, behind doors dealing going on where the public is left aside. And there's a very strong feeling amongst political activists and those who follow politics that the election, it sort of doesn't matter. And I think that's a potentially dangerous position for the electorate to be put in, where for Thai democracy, because if the election doesn't matter and all of the decisions on who's going to be in government are done behind closed doors and through a small elite, it leaves the way open for more radical politics emerging.
Yeah, if we could stay on that point a bit more, the rejection of Peter Limjaroenrat's nomination to be Prime Minister and his party Move Forward's exclusion from the Pheu Thai's new attempts to rule, what does that tell us about Thailand's democracy, if you could just elaborate on that point?
Well, there are plenty of countries where the party that comes first in an election doesn't necessarily lead the government. Coalition governments are fairly common. So that's not unusual. And I think given the structure set up by the Thai constitution, which was established by the military junta in 2017, these unelected senators play a big part in deciding what can happen. Now, their role disappears within about 9 to 10 months for selecting the Prime Minister, and Thailand gets back to a more regular sort of selection where the lower house plays the major role. But until we get to there, there are many people who are now feeling that they've been somehow deceived and that their vote doesn't matter. And I think this is a problem for political parties going forward. The question for Pheu Thai is, if it gets in, can it do enough to keep its supporters on side? Move Forward party supporters see democracy as having been betrayed by this move. But it's pretty clear that there was not much choice for Pheu Thai. They had to separate from Move Forward if they were going to be able to establish a government. Again, only because the unelected senators stand in the way. So democracy in Thailand is at a difficult point at the moment. But it's a point that was somehow designed by the previous regime. This, in some ways, was meant to happen, to stop a progressive party coming to power, even if it was popular.
And staying with the Thai professor, it says it's planning to nominate real estate tycoon Kevin Hewison in the next prime minister vote. Will he be able to govern the country amid this political unrest?
Depends a lot on how the coalition turns out and what happens in the few weeks after him being selected as prime minister by the parliament. Yes, I think he can if they keep out the generals from the previous regime. That's going to be difficult for them. Pheu Thai has already said that they want a large coalition government with plenty of seats in the lower house so that they can be a stable government. Their chances of a stable government are fairly high, I think, but primarily because if Move Forward is in the opposition, the other opposition parties, if the old generals don't come in with Pheu Thai, is not going to be able to operate as a solid bloc. So you'll have a reasonably stable government with an opposition which is divided. So they have a chance, and SETA has a chance of a stable government, but it depends a lot on what the final composition of the coalition government is.
Professor, thank you so much for your time this morning. We'll leave it there for now. Kevin Hewison, Professor Kevin Hewison from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.